Whether we recognize it or not, there is a longing in the human heart to be seen and to be fully known. But with such longing comes the tension. If we allow ourselves to be truly seen and known, will we still be loved and accepted?
I guess being authentic focuses on oneself more than a standard. I guess it's being true to yourself is how I see it. I guess where it becomes gray, the gray areas is like if being true to yourself is acceptable or not. That's where it becomes complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, being authentic is basically how I see it. It's just being true to yourself. And being true to yourself is a very difficult thing. Everything that led me here has been because of hardships and having it easy. A big part of my existence is where I live and how I live. To be honest, I always thought that I was living my the most authentic version of me, because I think being young and exposed to media, social media, your friends, peers, I think that created a whole vision in my head as how and who I want to be and how I want to do it. You know, you try something new and then you think it's good because everyone else is doing it, and then you get eaten up by the whole system. I realized recently, now that I'm older, that what am I doing? It's like, is that my true self? Like, I suddenly don't know who I am now. Currently, I'm in the process of renewing myself, making myself better for the people I love and for myself, because it really hit me hard when I realized that I didn't know who I was. I think it's a pretty painful process, but also very necessary one. So it's not something that I'm resenting. So it's hard, but it's good. I want to be someone that I could be at peace with. So I want to be more understanding, more open, yet still keep my values.
This is Cara Lim, a beautiful entrepreneur with an infectious laugh. I had just met her the day before, but what she shared hit its mark. She basically put into words my own thoughts and feelings, a perfect starting point to questions which have led me on a personal quest that I have been on for the past several years. You see, I have been on a pursuit towards discovering my true DNA and identity, and a pursuit towards living a truly authentic life. But before we go deeper into this journey, it's only fair to start from the beginning. I grew up in the small but beautiful island of Saipan. I enjoyed my life. As a pastor's daughter, I grew up in a Christian and loving environment and was given the freedom to dream. I had it pretty easy for most of the part. Life was good, and I had such an ideal future planned out. I wanted to live a good and comfortable life and make a difference in the world. However, as I got older, I began to make small compromises that went against many personal values and beliefs. This led me to eventually making major decisions that would completely turn the course of my life. I tried to still keep a strong facade, no one around me knowing the internal pain and secret lies I kept within. But the cracks of my mask were far too deep, until the day arrived where everything changed with a heartbreak. The heartbreak of a failed and broken marriage. It shook the very core of who I thought I was and all that I believed in and valued. Yet, the irony of it all was that the experience that should have destroyed me ended up becoming a catapult thrust into the beginning of an ongoing discovery of the true heart of God, a heart that demonstrates true authenticity because it is a heart that is vulnerable and took the greatest risk for the sake of love and relationship. Only then did I realize that I needed to be reintroduced to my own self. On making this documentary, I knew that I wanted to film people pursuing an authentic life. However, I didn't know where to start. There were several people I had in mind that I wanted to film and even asked to film, but with the exception of one, every person that ended up on this documentary was not part of the original plan. I quickly realized that the process of making this film would be a very authentic experience. This is Emmat Galindo, currently a pastor living in Tondo, Manila. Now he is definitely one of the most real persons I know, probably because of his story and life experiences.
Basta po masiyahin na. Tapos, hindi ko po alam ngayon po kasi naninibago ako. Kristiyano sa church, pero pag nasa labas, hindi. Kaya ang alam ko kasi, kapag Kristiyano ka, lifestyle mo yun kahit saan ka eh. Ako po kasi ang lifestyle ko, actually, araw-araw. Gusto kong i-release si Jesus sa mga tao. Ang paraan ko para ma-release ang love ni Jesus sa mga tao, yung magpakatotoo ako. Yung ako po, bilang si Emma, pinapangalandahan ko po dito sa lugar namin. O kahit saan po ako magpunta, Kristiyano ako.
Si Emmat napaka-humble na tao, talagang kapag kumaba siya lahat, pinapakisamahan niya kasi pinakilala niya yung si Jesus dito sa Tondo. Sana ma-reach niya talaga yung buong Tondo. Hindi lang dito sa 181 kundi sa Tondo.
Anak ko na diagnose ng tumor sa ko. Dapat niya siya, ma-opera na siya. So, tinawagan ko kinasikiyan na ipagano yung anak ko. Yung araw na yung paperman na ako ng
Waiver?
para sa operasyon niya.
Oo.
Dumating yung doktor niya mismo na sabi niya hindi na i-opera niya, kakalaman na raw yung tumor.
Tapos sa operahan ka na. Bakit hindi natuloy?
Kasi pinagaling mo po
Nino?
ni Lord.
Sino nag-pray sa'yo?
His bold Christian lifestyle has always challenged yet inspired me since the time I've come to know him. But he wasn't always like this. Several years ago, he was a completely different person. Yet one supernatural encounter changed everything.
So, dati po, alam niyo naman, 5 taon, nagde-deliver ako ng shop. Then, sa murang edad, natuto ako magnakaw. Magbenta ng droga, gumamit, minom, hold up, yan, kasi wala naman kaming pinagkakakita akong magkapatid, kami lang dalawang magkasama. So, lahat ng mga pangyayaring ganun sa buhay ko, galit ako sa Diyos. At nararamdaman ko, parang nag-iisa ako, walang nagmamahal sa akin. Isang araw, nagtatago ako nun kasi hinahanap ko ng mga polis sa Bulacan. Na-encounter ko si Jesus sa bundok, sa Tarlac, ganyan. Hindi siya vision, talagang actual. Doon ako nagulantang na meron pa ng Diyos. So lahat ng yun, nung nakilala ko ang Panginoong Jesus, nalaman ko yung purpose ko, kung sino ako. Kasi kapag ang isang tao hindi alam yung purpose niya or yung identity niya, wala eh. Gagawin mo kung ano yung nandyan eh. Ba't pa ginagawa namin yan? Kasi feeling namin nung kami masaya. Hinahanap namin yung security namin dun. Pero sa pagtapos ng araw, parang may kulang eh. Pero doon ko na intindihan si Jesus ang hinahanap ko. So, paano ako inubog ng experience ko dati? Dahil din po sa experience ko dati, natuto akong tumingin sa mga maliliit na tao. Sa mga taong tulad ngayon, kapag may nangre, gusto ng tao, patayin na agad. May nagnakaw, gusto ng tao, patayin na agad. May nakapatay, gusto ng tao, patayin na rin agad. Pero hindi nila alam, nagagawa yan ng tao kasi hindi nila alam kung ano yung ginagawa nila eh. Nagagawa yan ng tao kasi feeling nila, yun yung purpose ng buhay nila eh. Ito na ako, ito na ako. Na-realize ko, na hindi ako mananahimik. Kasi dati, meron akong best friend, 4 nga po kami, nagpakamatay siya. Kasi nga, naghahanap kami ng sagot sa mga tanong namin. So, nagpakamatay siya. And then, nung nakilala ko si Jesus, sabi ko sa sarili ko, wala ngayon, si Jesus, ipapakilala ko sa mga tao sa labas.
Several years ago, I began to realize that there was more to my life than just what I've known. It started when I began to see another dimension of God through a community of people, locally and internationally, who proactively pursued a natural, supernatural lifestyle. They were people who practiced hearing the voice of God, then speaking it out to others in order to encourage them. People who took risks to pray for the sick and see them healed, and where people cultivated an awareness of miracles being a norm. It was perfect timing that a group of students from the Bethel Supernatural School of Ministry in Redding, California, came for a mission trip exposure here in the Philippines.
Honor empowers you. Honor empowers you. Honor releases heaven. Honor is the currency of heaven. But first, at times it is tough because honor promotes humility.
Just put your hand, your head in your hand, your head, and say, I break fear over my life. Fear, you cannot stop me to take risks, to bless people, and to do what God called me to do.
He sees us in the crowded room. We are not pushed aside. We are not just the person who wants to be in the crowd, but we are chosen, we are highlighted, and we are seen.
These students all came from different parts of the world. Each one had a unique gift, strength, and life experience. But in spite of the diverse background, it was beautiful to witness the unity of their hearts towards the common goal of loving others. At this point of filming, I began to realize a pattern. When a person discovers their identity and becomes secure in it, it opens them up to become vulnerable. Vulnerability then translates into becoming an authentic person. Then when one becomes authentic, it begins to inspire others to be the same, because it's there where they find a safe haven. On one of the ministry events of the students from Bethel, I reconnected with Elmo and Britta, two good friends who had recently gotten married, have a baby on their way, and are now building their new life as a couple in San Miguel, Bulacan.
We met actually in a house of prayer like in 2016. Yeah, we share the same passion in helping the poor and like loving them. So yeah, that's why we end up being a couple.
Well, we got married August 2018 in the US, and in September we moved to the Philippines, and he has been building a house in San Miguel, Bulacan. So we moved to the province, and for me it was a massive adjustment.
It was so much adjustment, of course, cultural, from single to couple, from couple to being a parent. I am more of an alpha male that this type of leadership that you need to do this, you need to do that, and I need to set this, and I need to finish this. So I forgot that I have a wife and her thoughts and her feelings so important that yeah, that's actually happened.
That's the struggle. I think that's the friction that we have sometimes, is that he has a vision or an idea for something and my idea is completely different. And so we are trying to learn how to bring that together, because now our DNA, even though we're separate individuals, now that we're married, we are one. And so how do you function individually?
Or not.
How do you function individually yet together? And God has given each of us
beautiful minds and creative minds, but how do you work together so where one might be lacking in one area, the other one has the strength to make it work. I hope you like goji berries.
I like it.
My wife is a health buff, so yeah, okay.
This is so good. One of the things that we've been learning in our marriage is that now, again, we were individuals functioning as individuals, but now the way that God designed marriage is to be oneness. So we've learned that in making decisions, there's almost this anointing or this flow of goodness that comes when we make a decision together.
Here, you show me how it's done. No, I'm just rinsing it, and then and scrubbing it, and then I will just wash it in there. This is my little secret, but I'll ask him how to do it, and then he does most of it, and then I only have a little bit to do.
That's a good one.
It works every time. Show me how to do it. But I hope it will last for my whole life.
Mas maganda, if you want to build a house, you need to be present as a people who build the house. They have influence kasi eh. They have their, though you have a plan, meron silang personal approach how to do it. Pero kaya nga, as I mentioned, kasi ginawa namin itong bahay na to, personally hindi kasi gusto ko yung identity mo in the house is there. Like, this is your house, this is you. And I don't want to live in a house na parang, oh, this is not really me. This house is like dedicated to God na we want to use this house to serve at the same time to host missionaries. At the heart of the house, like, we want to help. We really want to help. Yep.
I couldn't help but admire the raw and real vulnerability that this couple shared. In spite of my own failed marriage, it was encouraging to see a young couple proactively choosing to be real with one another in order to build one another up instead of tearing the other down. After hearing their stories on the challenges of building the house and yet understanding the purpose behind their home and their personal process, I had a strong realization of its symbolic correlation to some of my life questions. So the following morning, as I stood looking out their window pane, these thoughts filled my head. Authenticity is like a beautiful house that is being built. It's vulnerable, and there are risks taken when it comes to the people that are part of building your house. But no matter the challenges, and no matter the risk of being hurt or being ripped off, you just have to keep going and keep building, because you already have the end in mind. You already see the vision of its beauty, and you just have to go back to your why, which is wholeness, family, and community. I love the beach and ocean. Having grown up right next to the beach has made me a lover of sunsets, sand in my toes, and saltwater air. Living in the city has its perks, but my heart always longs for the beauty of nature and the beach. So it was to my great delight that I got to travel to Lacawan, Cadiz Negros, where I would be a bridesmaid in the wedding of a close friend. At this point, I wasn't sure if there was really another person that I wanted to document. Time constraint and schedules were also major factors to consider. But I decided to take the documentary with me on my travels, not really sure of what I would get to film when I arrived. And then it turned out that at the wedding, another reconnection happened with a good friend that I've had since college, which eventually took me on the shores of another beach.
authenticity is just trying to be yourself and trying to be real with your design or what you're good at. You know, not trying to be anyone else or not trying to copy anything else or anyone else, but knowing what you're good at. I think it's very important because we are all unique in a way. You know, if you believe that there is a creative designer for all these things, if there is an origin for all these things, then you have to be authentic. You have to be different from each other. You know, because I think that's what also makes things more fun, or at the same time that's what makes life more dynamic in a way. Where when you understand that there's only one you know, and there's no one else that could be you. And then when you understand that, then you will start to be yourself, and you will start to thrive based on how you're designed or based on what you're good at. So I think authenticity or being authentic is very important, because I think that's the only way for us to grow beautifully, you know, as a community, as a society. So how I got here, you know, from coffee to becoming a barber is another turning point was when I had to ask myself like what I want to pursue. You know, so like I guess coffee is great. You know, it's one of my first love. You know, or as a craft or whatever. When I look at barbering, it's such a young trend at the same time, and it's an old craft but a young trend. And then there's not much key players right now in the industry, so I feel like there's more chance of me, you know, getting out there and making a brand for myself and being able to be good at it, you know, and then eventually be able to inspire others to do the same. I'm designed, you know, like I for once realized that I'm a creative person, you know, and I like creating things. At the same time, I like people. So and I like to bring people together. So knowing my strengths and knowing what I'm good at, you know, and by pursuing it, actually inspires others to do the same.
Chloe Samantanes. Aside from being a coffee barista of the famous El Union, he has recently opened up his own barbershop, Cut Back Barber. I have always known him as one who always pursued the passions and dreams in his heart. In many ways, because of this steadfast pursuit, it has led him to where he is even now. But what sustains him? And at the end of the day, to what and for what is all of this for?
Yeah, actually, there are days when you're not really, where you don't really feel like doing what you love, you know, or sometimes you question yourself, like why you're here, or why you're doing this, you know, or am I doing the right thing, am I on the right path, or is this the right move? But I guess what keeps me grounded and reminded is just, like what I said earlier, is just going back to your why. You know, you have to know your why before you do things. So like, and then by knowing your why, then it's easier for you to be grounded or to be reminded, even if the times are not so easy or so hard, because you understand why you're doing things. You know, but also at the same time, I believe no man's an island. So you know, I believe in community. You know, like I believe in people. You know, so surrounding yourself with people that believes in you and helps you thrive or wants to see you win, I guess it's also very important in, you know, pursuing your thing. Of course, I think lastly is just mentorship. You know, I'm a big believer of mentorship. So I believe you need to have mentors in all aspects of your lives. Find someone that you can trust. Is, you know, make yourself vulnerable. And I'm a people person, so I'm always gonna be about people. You know, I'm always gonna be about others more than just myself. There was like a point in time I was trying to decode what pursuing passion is all about. But not until I moved out of my city and pursued what I really wanted and pursued growth, that's when I really understood what my passion is all about. So this is really good. I learned this from another friend too. So sometimes we think passion is really pursuing what you love or what you want. But sometimes passion is not just all about that. Pursuing what your passion is not just about self, it's about others. So I realized that, you know, like I really like making coffee and doing coffee. It's not just because of coffee, but I really like serving people coffee. I like serving people good coffee and making good latte art, and then when you give that cup to your customers, then there's a big smile on their face because they see a beautiful art in there, and then they taste the cup and it's even better to taste. I mean, it's better tasting. So I realized that really sometimes our craft, which we think is our passion, is really just a tool or a medium to what you're really about. Basically, for me, I realized it's serving people, it's making other people happy. So as well as barbering, I thought that barbering is another passion of mine. I like cutting hair, making all these cool designs. But in a day, what's more satisfying than a good cut is a good conversation with your client. Having a client come in with a bad day and giving him a nice cut and making him feel better and making him feel more confident or just happy is very rewarding for me as a barber. Really just making other people feel good or for them to understand what their value is.
With the documentary coming to a close, I had time to reflect on the things observed and heard. I realized that one common factor on the people I got to film was that each person did not yet have it all together, myself included. But that's where I see the raw and real authenticity of the whole process. It isn't about always having it all together, because there is still so much more to be discovered, experienced, and embraced. Yet, what sets them apart is their awareness of the power behind living an authentic life and their steadfastness to go after it, even though it's not always easy. There is pain in the unlearning of many old mindsets and habits, but to have a renewed mind is worth it. I have known what it means to live with a mask. It's a slow and painful inner death. On the other hand, authenticity is being alive in the element that you were created for. Our world is specifically designed for certain things. Just as the sun was made to shine, or the oceans move in majestic waves. Just as the trees were meant to be deeply rooted, and the seeds in each fruit bear its own unique DNA. We, as human beings, were created to be seen and fully known, and be completely accepted in it. True authenticity is not selfish or self-centered. Its irony lies in the reality that only when one fully understands and walks in their unique design can they better love and empower others to do the same. So embrace your fingerprint, because there's only one of its kind that can leave a mark in this world.